In management matters, the U.S. cyber posture post-OPM. After 2 data breaches at the Office of Personnel Management, Federal CIO Tony Scott announced a 30-day cybersecurity sprint. According to Reuters, Scott promised to share those results on July 20th. That deadline has passed, so what now? For answers, we turn to Mark Testoni, President and Chief Executive of SAP National Security Services. Mark, let's start there. Why would the White House delay release of their cybersecurity sprint results? Are they worried it will tip off hackers to more system vulnerabilities?
You know, I think the key issue in these things is they're probably trying to be thorough before they come out and release. There tends to be always an effort to jump on whatever is said as being a conclusion, and my suspicion is they're trying to be diligent in the process and take the time to make sure that they've got the answers.
Now, you think mindset is the biggest obstacle to cybersecurity in the public sector. Explain that for us.
You know, we have to look at the world a little differently. We've always looked at the world as putting perimeters and boundaries around our systems and networks, and that was typically sufficient enough. People are generally going to get in. I mean, there's an awful lot of threats out there, and there's a chance that they're going to get in. And if they do, we have to have defense in depth and be able to take action on anomalies or other things that are happening inside our network. So we need to start thinking about a position where we may have threats inside our networks versus assuming we can build enough walls and moats and high enough fences to stop people from getting in at all.
Now, Mark, let's talk about the role federal contractors like SAP play in the OPM breach. Last December, Strauss Friedberg, a digital forensics firm retained by USIS, said hackers infiltrated USIS through a vulnerability in SAP software. NextGov wrote an article on that report and included this quote: SAP, a major IT contractor with 50,000 customer organizations worldwide, would neither confirm nor deny allegations that assailants reached USIS through one of its systems. Now, Mark, SAP is a huge firm. You run one division. Do you know if hackers reached USIS due to a vulnerability in SAP software? Are you in a position to comment on that issue?
What I would say is that SAP takes security extraordinarily vigilantly, and in the role of the work we do in our division, even additive to that. And very frequently we are creating releases and making sure that we're addressing things that we discover that may be problems inside our software and the combined software when used with hardware and other things. So, I mean, this is an area that's difficult for all players in this environment, both users and developers of software capability and providers of the services. So we're all constantly vigilant in this area, and I think we have top processes, very well defined, very tightly managed, and we're doing the things that are necessary to make sure that these minimize the risk of these things happening.
Now, either way, ERP or Enterprise Resource Planning software is vulnerable. SAP partners with a security provider called Onapsis. They've developed a solution called Onapsis X1 specifically to detect cyber risks and compliance violations affecting SAP platforms. A few weeks ago, their CTO wrote a commentary about those vulnerabilities. Here's an excerpt. Business-critical applications are rapidly becoming one of the most valuable targets for cyber criminals and cyber espionage. SAP and Oracle are releasing tons of patches every month, but are enterprises up to the task? So, Mark, is government doing enough to implement these patches, and are companies like SAP doing enough to supply government with secure software?
I think everyone is doing what they can in a very, in a different environment. We've got to step back and take a look at the last 25 years. We've developed and taken the internet commercially in the last 25 years that has created unbelievable economic prosperity, information, and just has changed our world. And by and large, the infrastructure, the software companies, the customers, both government and commercial, and all the players in the network have done great work, incredible work in protecting. These threats are evolving very fast. We're all working to address those threats. And I think what we're going to need to see is even more collaboration between government and the private sector, more non-traditional collaboration. And you saw this when Secretary Carter went out to Silicon Valley not 6 weeks ago, to really address and get ahead of these threats. We have the smartest people in the world working in the companies that support the cyber world. We have to leverage them not only in government but commercially, and we have to collaborate in a better way, and I think you're seeing the aspects of that.
I appreciate your candor. Mark Testoni, President and Chief Executive of SAP National Security Services. Thanks, Mark.